Here in the AZ Central Arizona Republic newsroom, I'm Richard Rellis here with columnist Bob Robb. It's early January, 19 blocks down. The state capitol's gearing up for business. What can we expect from the legislature this session?
I think even more than most years, the session will be dominated by the budget and by an attempt by Republicans in the legislature to dramatically change the way and the timetable for the adoption of the budget. There was a feeling at the end of the session last year that the budget was too prone to be held hostage for non-appropriation matters. And I think there's a general sense that the legislature doesn't carry its own weight in budget deliberations, that there's too much deference to the executive.
Right, it seems like every session there's discussion of the budget, but at the end the governor says, here's what I would like to see happen, and the legislators put it into. You think there's going to be more public hearings, more discussion?
Unfortunately not, and I think that would be a superior approach. What's happened is that the leadership on both sides have been having individual meetings with individual legislators. Sometimes that includes Democrats, sometimes it does not, to try to develop a consensus, at least about budget priorities, that would be announced shortly after the governor proposes his budget. And then to get the budget done by the end of February or early March, so it's not held hostage for other things, and perhaps shut down other legislative deliberations until the budget is adopted. That could have all sorts of good consequences, and it might reduce the practice of passing substantive legislation as part of these silly budget reconciliation bills that we've talked about in the past, which is a short circuit of the actual legislative process. I think they're going about it wrong by having these private meetings and making it just a Republican measure. If it was done the old way, in public appropriation meetings involving Republicans and Democrats and deals cut between Republicans and Democrats, you might, I don't believe there's a lot of disagreement out there between the parties and among the legislators as to how much should be spent and largely where it should be spent. So I think you could develop a bipartisan budget, and that would more certainly reduce the leverage that any individual Republican has to hold up the budget for non-budget related matters.
Yeah, and typically in some years we've seen the problem being not enough money to go around. This year there's a surplus. Do you think they'll get it done early on in the session?
I think they'd have a better chance to get it done early on in the session if it was a bipartisan approach. But if it is going to be a Republican measure, I think that the individual Republican legislators are going to be reluctant to give up their leverage by their vote on the budget. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor, but I fear that they're going about it a way that is as less likely to be successful than a more transparent, public, bipartisan process.
Right, so we might be still there in June.
We might.